Welcome to the Skull Meatloaf podcast, where we talk about slow healing, where there's no rush to being a better, more evolved you. We talk about healing on your own terms, at any pace, any way you know how, with a little bit of humor and lots of honesty. And my name is Anne. I'm a writer, therapist, and clinical educator growing alongside you. And the good news is this podcast is not therapy, supervision, or consultation. It's honestly my space and my time off to share things I learned in straightforward ways. Things I've learned or am considering myself that I thought may help to share with one or many, pending who will give it a listen. I've always believed in promoting education rather than holding it captive. And whether it's listening and considering or going through and living your life, I believe deeply in the science of people, our ability to learn and ripple to the next generation. We are, as I always say, social animals and grow with and alongside. Yet we will never grow in the silo of comfort. This episode is special because I'm compiling my first 7 seasons and sharing the highlights. Those may or may not know that I lost the first 7 episodes of Skull Meatloaf podcast due to a technical issue from a company not worth mentioning where I uploaded the audio. Just know that blind trust is still not the best policy, and whether I'm a new podcaster or not, whether I manage a solo or not, those were choices I made, and I hold myself accountable to not repeat the same mistakes this time around. When the original 7 seasons were deleted and there was no chance of recovering it, I sifted through kind of how to respond with something being so out of my control. And those of you knowing I'm a recovering control freak, you can imagine how that felt. All those old feelings came up. But I did what I could, and I exhausted the resources. And instead of doing things like rebranding, maybe starting anew, or even rescinding the podcast altogether, I'm choosing to continue onward with Skull Meatloaf with Anne C. Totaro into Season 8. I will be saving and uploading in different ways to ensure that it's not repeated to the best of my abilities. I had to kind of swallow my perpetual independence and ask people for help on how to do that. And I'm deeply thankful for those that have helped me and encouraged me along the way. They're also going to be helping me in this next phase of this podcast. Kind of decided to take my own advice and not do it alone. This whole life thing. What I also have control over is what I want to share moving forward. Now, the primary shares will be what we call the 5-minute meatloaf. And if you're new, these are 5-minute little topics to consider as you go through life. Things you listen to on your way to the grocery store, or maybe you binge the whole 8 episodes when you find time in your busy schedule. I don't think podcasts should feel like a commitment, but maybe when we have time to consider as it relates to our evolution or life. And you know what? Some of us still got commitment issues, and I'm raising my hand. Or some we don't have the attention span, and I'm also raising my hand for that one. Or even sometimes we don't have time that week to keep up. And if this was me 7 years ago when I was talking about prioritizing, I would be raising my hand too. And science shows us that consistency helps build habits. They help us build who we are. And I choose to work with science and create something manageable. We don't need to obsess or drown in the 30-day residential retreats to evolve, because the truth is we're evolving all the time and it takes time. So the 5-minute meatloafs were the most listened to. So they're going to be primary. I'm taking in what you're saying. And that's what we're going to do. There are going to be some longer episodes you're going to see, such as topics about grief or even my personal journey with my body. But again, the longer episodes will be a choice. And what I also have control over with this podcast is how I want to share Skull Meatloaf moving forward. I'm going back to audio only and solo only. I piloted video and I can share how much I learned, and honestly, mostly it's just a giant pain. And I love talking with people and I learned a lot, yet coordination is its own beast, and that took time. And I just don't have time for that in my career. Doesn't mean that connections don't hold some value. But I'd much rather spend that hour going to coffee with that person and talking about something than coordinating a schedule. It turned into this vast project that was just too much, and it increased my chance of avoidance or even a greater honesty gaps in my episodes. And since I will be saving the audio and distributing it myself, I'll be choosing where it's going to be going, like Spotify, Apple, iHeart, and YouTube. Now, that may evolve too, but that's for now. Spotify used to distribute these for me, but it's time for me to preserve the podcast, and I'll be uploading each episode to each of these platforms individually. I will also be uploading to my social media platforms, website, and YouTube. And the point of this is to get it distributed wherever people want to listen. Yet you're going to notice you won't be able to see me. It isn't to hide facial expressions or because of insecurities. But honestly, when I was young, I used to write in journals. I used to set these few locations and I would write authentically and bravely and deeply and scribble sometimes and did things that didn't make sense. But what I knew is I could hold this space as my own, and it increased the chance of real sharing. And my 2 recording spots in my home, I have 2 spots that I feel comfortable. There's no distractions. And I'm not sitting where I'm worrying about eye contact or looking at the camera or the presentation. And I just want to increase a brave space. That is just mine. Not for validation, approval, or to be publicly viewed or if the lighting is right. But because human beings are visual creatures, audio also increases the opportunity that you can listen and consider, but just listen and take in what takeaways are for you. Now, the next consideration for the future of Skull Meatloaf is who should listen. To me, this is an 18-plus series. Now, my specialty is young adult nonfiction, whether it's as a writer, as a therapist, working with families and couples, yet I can't micromanage who finds me and listens. So if one of your curious kids are admiring you, which is very sweet, and listening over your shoulder, I'm just going to give you a forewarning now. I swear enough to make a sailor blush. I'm as raw as rose quartz. And here, I'm not a therapist. I am not a clinical educator in this podcast. I'm Anne. I don't want to be anything but Anne here. I don't want to be held to that. And with that being said, this is not therapy. This is not supervision. This is not consultation. And frankly, this doesn't reflect any institution or anybody I've worked for, whether past or current. They're separate from me. It doesn't reflect anyone I have worked for or do work with or have worked with either. I don't provide medical advice or consideration. That's for your care team. And if there is anything interesting you want to bring back to them that you want to hear or talk about, bring it to the professionals that know you or your loved ones that know your circumstance. Because what I say is not applicable to all situations. There's no way that I could do that. There's no way anybody can do that. If I came up on some search engine that's related to a clinician or educator, we're not the same person. Even if we talk about the same topics, I'm just me. I want to be held accountable for the things that I say in here on my off time, yet not accountable for others and what they say in all contexts. And that's enough. But what I will say is if my clients, their families, supervisees, mentees, consultees, or any of you are listening, I really am glad you're here. It means you're exceeding expectation as it relates to self-evolution. But, just remember, what do I tell you? Get second and third opinions. And as a joke to someone I know for a fact is listening, the pocket version of me, of Anne, is still in beta testing. But for now, this will do. Now, without further 10 to 15 minute introductions, almost feels like a Wisconsin goodbye, I'd love to highlight the 7 things I learned from my 7 seasons as the owner, manager, and operator of the Skull Meatloaf podcast. So here's the golden copper and brass nuggets for consideration. I kind of like it because now you don't need to listen to hours and hours of my podcast, but you get to highlight what I learned. 1, don't fix what ain't broke, yet evolve from what no longer serves you. Don't worry, I'll go into this. Because the first thing I'm going to say is evolve and heal on, my friends. This is something you've heard from season 1, and it'll live on with us. This statement was a thoughtful one, because it's the bridge, my bridge, in conversation of science to everyday life, the gray areas. We are scientific creatures and social beings. There are ways that the Skull Meatloaf podcast helped me face the reality of being a human being, and how I realized that could work for and against me. Here are more highlights to the science of people. We're social animals. Thank you, Elliot Aronson. People need people to evolve and grow. That's not a weakness. It's a reality. And not just like-minded people, but people who are open and maybe they think differently than you. Also, humans like resolution and really fast results. We kind of have goldfish brains, and honestly, that's charming. Our cognition will sift through what's important or not, yet the science of the brain is that repetition helps. Not just fast results, but repetition and time. There's a part of our brain called the anterior cingulate cortex, and this is what converts all that information to long-term memory. So, honestly, if you're not creating habit or repeating something, it's really difficult for it to learn and retain. Because it'll go back to instant gratification and the goldfish. We have a body because we're supposed to listen to it, but we'll leave more for that later in the next episode. Next thing that I want to point out is emotions are a survival mechanism. Since we're babies, to be honest, so realize they exist for a reason. So many people come to therapy because they want to avoid that, or they want to diminish it or temper it. Yet it is an honest thing that they help us. You don't need, however, to consume yourself with them. Invite your emotions to dinner, but don't let them stay the weekend. I still dislike house guests because I kind of enjoy my space, and it's nothing personal. It's just a fact. I'm protective of my spaces. And also, all feelings are valid, but not all thoughts are rational, and not all behaviors are valid because of your feelings and thoughts. Got to take ownership and accountability for that too. The brain retains, so be conscious about what you repeat to it. And also, the biggest thing is evolution takes time, you guys. It doesn't happen overnight, and your healing is no exception. The deeper I learned to understand the science of myself, things just rolled off. I took things in when necessary. I stopped placing so much pressure on myself to evolve faster, which honestly leads me to point 2. One of my favorite concepts to talk about. Slow healing. I don't believe in shortcuts. I don't think that they've served us long term. They're shortcuts because they're short-term solutions. The quick fixes, the elixirs, the overnight retreats didn't change our lives. They may have given us a place to start or consider. And not just what this podcast or even my book really talk about, but I want you to have things to consider. We'll never have the key to life in one event or episode or one answer. And aha moments, to be honest, are meant to fuel a fire. Yet fires have to be fed. A passion fire has to be fed. You don't just start a fire and it's lit and there's no additional help. Eventually, embers cease if we don't take care of it or if we don't fan it. Things take time. Healing takes time. The race to happiness and relevance can migrate, to something that maybe is good for you and evolving. But that race to happiness and relevance can be sometimes a trap. The fire for healing and evolution has to be fed and fanned too. And sometimes it diminishes to embers where we slow burn. We live, we take in, and that's the hottest, most important part of the fire. Slowing down and taking it in. It's like when people go to therapy sometimes. People think that like throwing a piece of paper on top of the fire, thinking that it's going to last long term, but anybody that knows anything about fires, it'll just move to ash and it won't get to the deeper part of the fire. You have to heat from the ground up to sustain. We have to engage. And if we engage too fast, too often, there's no time to percolate or be thoughtful. A lot of growing doesn't happen in offices or structured spaces. Now, I could hear the therapist in the background being like, you're taking away our jobs. Sorry, therapist, not trying to take away any of our jobs. But as I am with my clients and the families, I'm honest. We start a conversation, but we aren't the answer. We live long lives now. We have to be honest with people about the longevity and the evolution and the honesty. People aren't dying in their 20s or 30s. It's more of an exception. So it's new territory to process living for 70 plus years. And it's getting longer. If you look at the research, we go up every 1 to 2 years every time they reassess it. We've gotten so good at evolving in science that we live longer and honestly probably live longer than we want to most of the time. Healing is also a verb. It's an action that's ongoing. It's present tense. Oh, and here's another thing to number 2. Growth is not comfortable. Don't seek out comfortable growth. Won't happen. Now, the third thing is manifesting is as much as a mindset as it is an action. Now, everybody probably remembers the Manifest series if you've been with me a long time. I went through Manifest as an acronym and talking about the various ways that you could talk about the key points of manifestation, which was a big buzzword, still is. Now, I went through these important topics, and you're welcome because I'm saving you a crap ton of time here. There is a difference between wanting change and being ready for change. Readiness is a totally different topic. Are you ready to be open, to consider, to take time to create habits? And if you aren't, reconsider if now is the right time. I'm not telling you to give up on your dream. Don't be so middle school dramatic. We're not here for it. I'm telling you there's a time and a place for everything. The second portion of this, name your goals in a clear way. Look up SMART goals. They're very helpful. There's science behind them and there's a reason because something too open and fluffy is hard for your brain to grab onto. So be intentional and clear. The next is your inner critic. Make friends with it. It's helped you survive all these years. Just take its words into consideration. Just remember you're at the head of the table. And all of those fears and concerns that maybe that inner critic is trying to protect you from, now you have to funnel it. Funnel it to resolve. Funnel it to create. Funnel that shit into what you really want. And you can spend time, intellectualizing your emotions and thinking, or you could take a step. Or take a nap. I don't care. There are reasons versus excuses because there could be, a recognition. There's a reason for things. Or you make excuses like self-related barriers. Manifesting is realizing there will be barriers and no question you'll overcome them. I'll say that again. Manifesting is realizing there will be barriers, but no question that you're going to overcome them. Then you got to do something. Manifestation is about action. Even philosophers didn't sit there and think. They traveled, they shared, they challenged, they wrote, they observed, they talked to people, they evolved alongside. And that's their job, was to think, you guys. Now let's move on to number 4, because this one's a good one. Divorce your obsession with happiness and joy is a choice. We spend a lot of our lives chasing happiness when it's a fleeting survival emotion. It's meant to be short-lived, yet not to be sustained. You try smiling for 24 hours straight. I want you to do it just for an hour. Your face will hurt. I guarantee it. Joy is what we look for. Joy and gratitude are the greatest protective factors to hard days and self-evolution. And also, gratitude for your smart Alex is not the same as toxic positivity. That was in season 5. Toxic positivity is a version of avoidance and people pleasing. No one wants that shit. You could be realistic in chaos and show appreciation. You aren't going to be thankful for pain. We could be thankful for a ripple or a lesson that came from pain. But I don't ever hear somebody being like, thank you, trauma. It was such a gift. I just want you to know that when we realize today was a hard day and I have improved so much and there's more to go. We can sit with accomplishments or hard times, but life doesn't stop moving. When you're chasing a life where nothing is wrong and you have complete bliss, I'd label that as an unrealistic expectation. Things also don't happen to us. Things happen in our life and we're here for it. It'll keep evolving and moving with or without us. And if you're waiting for it to stop, for you to catch up, it won't happen. We have to learn to roll with the punches, tribulations, and even rough shit like grief, which leads me to point number 5. Grief is fucked and it is unpredictable. It doesn't happen the same way for everybody. This one has its own limited series this season, so I'm going to leave it as a cliffhanger. And you'll have to come back to hear more. I can't even mold it into a perfect little cognitive paragraph if I tried. So we're going to move to number 6, which is living your life is the best antidote. Which also kind of marriages or is married alongside recognize the reality of things. Houses are meant to be lived in. It's one of my favorite episodes I remember off the top of my head. It means that your body, your life, your job, your experiences, life is meant to be lived. We look for these pristine, perfectionistic ways of thinking and being, and what we learn over time is it's not possible. Talking is great, but if you're talking or thinking more than you're living, we're missing something. For example, today, this episode better be chopped up into pieces because it's a longer one. And if you got busy, whether you got busy, you're multitasking, or you're on your way to living, chop it up, take pauses, but life is meant to be lived. And with that saying, divorce the obsession also. We talked about happiness, but divorce it with work and success. If you die tomorrow, your job description is up before your obituary, and that's fact. And it doesn't mean you hold no value. It means be realistic about your value in the workplace. Go to work and come home. Recognize the reality of that situation and many others. Also, stop avoidance. Stop lying to yourself what you're going over versus what you're going through. And that means, are you avoiding versus are you pushing through? Like in life, even in grief, there's no way but through. You can't wish your way out of it. It's our job to build our own ship around things that happen. Ship, not shit. SHIP, as in Paul. Define what we think about things. Consider, promote freedom of thought. We aren't little minions. Minions and sheeple didn't evolve the human race. I could tell you that. Just remember that. Another favorite episode is Living Your Life. About living your life is overcoming bullies. It was one of my favorite ones, overcoming bullies in adulthood. And the best way to handle them is to live your life. It pisses them off. It pisses them right off. If you keep living your life, you take in what they say, and you just keep living, they will be upset. They want reaction. You cannot expect everyone is going to like you guys. Not everyone's going to like you. Not everyone's going to approve of what you do. They're not going to validate you. That's why I tell people when I think of postmodern ethics, I don't believe in safe spaces. I believe in brave spaces where we consider and we're compassionate of people, yet it's not our job to caretake people. My mom always used to say, when you walk into a room and you realize that at least one person in that room will never like you, no matter what you do, you'll be more content. You'll be more successful. You'll be happier. You'll feel more joy. And guys, the people that matter stay. Boundaries are stop signs, not yield signs. And if someone is uncomfortable with that, whether it's you or them, it's got to be worked on. Yet also, you aren't the only person going through shit. Everyone is. I'm not saying you need to put them first, but you do need to realize you aren't the only person on this planet, especially in your personal life. The emotional bookshelf has to have room for other people we love. Oh, and by the way, be happy for people. When they succeed, celebrate it. It's a joy. Although it may be normal as a concept to think about your accomplishments, think about yourself when other people succeed. Even honestly, jealousy is just an emotion. It's normal. But taking energy away and being possessive of a situation is a choice. So be happy for people and bring people with. It speaks ions. I promise you. And 7, listen to your body. For fuck's sake. I'm going to be doing a limited series on this too, specifically the dangers of not listening to your body and my journey with it, hoping that you can learn from my mistakes. Your body is an incredible mechanism. It's been passed down through thousands and thousands of years to many generations of people, and that comes with its territory, some good, some not so good, but there's a fact of intergenerational trauma, diseases, yes, but also survival. It absolutely is not all bad, or you wouldn't be here. Your genetics have survived centuries. And what a beautiful thing. Don't get mad at your body all the time. It's the only one you have. Gosh, you can alter, change, or adjust, but it's still the same body that got you here. Consider being kind to it more often. Consider it exists more often than when you do. And get the fuck out of your head, for fuck's sake. And remember, you have ownership and power over that body. No one else does. And if you're in an unsafe situation, make plans to get out of it or get help or resources when needed. Our body interacts with our brain. It is essential. So make sure that relationship, that it's connected and abundant. They're siblings. Honestly, one of the greatest mistakes I think families make is that they don't prioritize sibling relationships. They're so worried about the parent-child. But after a certain age, that sibling relationship is the most important. And we learn to create that symbiotic relationship specifically with our brain and our body. We can learn to evolve. Self-regulation becomes a choice and the power gets turned up. And guess what? That control adjusts too. Now, summing this episode up, what you're doing is enough today. Existing and living is evolving. Sitting with is evolving. Allowing yourself to take in the massive lessons and changes is enough. It's a massive art project to know when to push forward, when to change, and when to sit with. And honestly, I haven't figured that shit out, and I don't know if anyone has, and that's also not the point of all of this. It's just to talk about things that maybe matter sometimes and things to consider if it's relevant to you. But honestly, there's some people that do this with grace, and grace goes a long ass way. Your unrealistic expectations of self-evolution are still a choice, and they are hard to overcome. I'm still working on it. But the brain knows and remembers what you tell it, and the body will follow suit. And above anything else, you have to consider yourself. Oh my God, I literally just realized I forgot this one. If you're a caretaker, consider people, but don't take responsibility for them. Taking responsibility for anyone but yourself helps no one, including forcing your beliefs on how to heal, how fast to heal, or anything related. You're in your skin 24/7, 365, and so are they. Stay in your lane. And the obsession with empathy, honestly, it's egotistical. I could do a whole topic on this too. You don't know what people feel. You know what you feel about what they're experiencing. But honestly, we need to adjust that to being compassionate and considerate, because that also is enough. And if you've listened to this episode and you still want to come along for the ride, whether it's the 5-minute meatloafs or the limited series, just listen to it when it calls to you. There's no need to commit to this relationship other than if it pops up and you're in the place to consider listen, just give it a go. And if you aren't, fuck it. It'll be here next week because I'm going to ensure this shit doesn't get deleted this time. And again, unless it's by my own hand. And I realized after I let that flow out of me, that was a terrible impression of Merida from Brave. Or Merida, I don't know. But all I know is she shot an arrow for her own hand, and we respect that. Get it, girl. And her hair looked phenomenal, by the way. And regardless how off track that is, the point is that this podcast is not going anywhere unless this time I choose to, because I'm learning and evolving how best to serve this podcast and get the information to you. I genuinely feel joy that you came back to hang out with me, and I look forward to season 8 of the Skull Meatloaf podcast. All that I know, today felt right. These are just things to consider. And as always, evolve and heal on, my friends.